Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning back into another live session of Digital Watches. Today, you have a special treat in store for you. We are going to be talking about fashion during the Romantic era with special guests, as per usual, always special, Wendy and Brian. Wendy and Brian, would you like to say a shout out to your fans?
If anybody's watching this, besides the teacher, please stop. That's weird.
This is going to be a great time. Great time, yeah.
One of these videos may go viral.
Wow.
Only wish. Alrighty, so fashion. Some of us, one out of the three of us in here, are quite excited to talk about it.
And it's not me.
I'll let you guess which one it is. So I think I'll start off talking. So fashion, okay, one thing that I absolutely loved, and as we read in there, concerning the men's fashion, well, and women's as well, is that everyone dressed up. People got dressed up to go out. No one does that nowadays, and it's so depressing. But specifically, when people got dressed up, they went completely in. As it talked about with the men, they ended up having their coats being cut out like the waist with longer tails. Now, I mean, like cat tails, that's not like my thing, I would say, but it's the fact that they're wearing like a suit jacket. And something that I thought was fascinating and quite interesting is it said that they adapted to riding breeches reached almost to the bottom of their boots, but they were replaced with pantaloons or trousers for fashionable streetwear. So they started to adapt so that they would have multiple outfits for separate occasions, which makes sense because why would you want to be wearing your fashionable riding gear and then go in public smelling like a horse? They smell great, but I mean, come on, you're going to get dirty when riding a horse. That's what happens. So you need to switch it up. So switch to those pantaloons. That's what I'm talking about. An outfit for every occasion. I'm down.
Yeah. And good thing for the women because when they changed they were able to be a little more relaxed in their fashion. Just in the introduction for this assignment, it mentioned the women wore corsets, but they were not the incredibly small-waisted corsets of the mid-Victorian period, the ones Elizabeth Swann complains about in Pirates of the Caribbean. So I do remember that part of the movie. Great movie, by the way. But the fact that, I don't know, it says a lot about the freedom, even though they didn't have all the freedoms and rights of that women have today. I feel with the looser rules and it mentions their hair was a little more lax, not lax, but it was still fixed, but it wasn't as stiff. They were able to be more themselves. Also, with the corsets being looser, they can breathe, which is great. And with the waistline, the waistline moved up a little bit, which gave them a little more freedom to move, and which I would appreciate.
Okay, the one thing that caught my attention was that the boots. It says typically Haitian boots were the rage because of the Duke of Wellington's defeat of Napoleon at Waterloo. So Haitian boots are kind of boot that goes up kind of maybe mid thigh, and they were used by cavalrymen, and cavalrymen fought for the Duke of Wellington. They beat Napoleon in Waterloo, and maybe because of that victory, and because the cavalrymen wore that, cavalrymen were generally the wealthier soldiers. The boot probably became popular. It's everybody wanted to have what the popular soldiers had or what the heroes had, and it became kind of the fashion of the day. These leather Haitian boots. So these men probably came home and then everybody wanted to have them. I really like boots, and Haitian boots seemed like they were pretty cool, and So everybody probably wanted to be cool too, and they probably shined them and had them look all nice and had a lot of fun with that. So that's a way that they could show, like, if they go out there, like, oh, maybe he looks like he's a cavalryman. It shows his wealth. Like,
Sign of status.
yes.
I think what's interesting is the clothing style. It fits the ideology of the time, because every beauty being attached with that of form and consistency, or a lack of consistency, I should say, but smoothness with the form, corsets and the dresses, and it would emphasize a woman's body. But even with the men, that they were wearing tighter clothing and having boots. When you wear tight clothing and boots and you're wearing a suit jacket, they're usually tailored, they're well fitted, and so it creates a form, and it in turn actually improves posture. It increases that and helps that out. So their clothing very much slides in and reflects what the time period was striving for. So I think that just it makes sense what they're wearing. Also, when you're getting dressed up, I mean, you're dressing up to impress and to look good and to compliment yourself. And so, I mean, if that's what everyone's doing because they want to be looking beautiful, makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So, good.
And I think going along with like the well-tailored fit of the clothing, whether it was men or women, I think it went along with like the status of the people. And also how they I don't know, like how they wanted white skin too. Just like kind of, they wanted to show off, like they wanted to dress to impress, but they also wanted, when they were out dressing to impress, they like wanted to make sure people knew who they were and like that they had their lives put together. And
So I was kind of thinking about it. Somebody that has nice clothes has more money than they need to eat. So they have the extra money, the disposable income to spend on their clothes. So if you have nice clothes, it shows, it's a status symbol that you have this money to play with. So people obviously could probably have faked it and got nice clothes even if they couldn't afford it, but then they looked like they were wealthy. And then there's probably a lot of people that were wealthy and had these nice clothes, and they had them tailored. They had them so they would fit well. That shows they had the money to pay for the tailor, and they had the money to make sure that everything was to pay those expenses. And that became kind of like the status symbol, and the more people did it, the more popular it became probably. And got those nice, maybe did they have cufflinks? I don't know, that'd be cool.
If they had cufflinks, that'd actually be interesting to find out what cufflinks came in.
Their collars, they put on the collars. The church didn't have collars; they had to wear collars.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
so that I remember them mentioning that the collar was attached to
That'd
the
be
shirt
cool.
rather than.
Try that. Some.
You know, to remove that after the event, just take off the collar.
Well, that'd be nice because then that's the hardest part to wash with the shirt. You just take that off.
Oh heavens!
Wash that by itself.
Oh my
wear the shirt like
goodness.
3 more times.
That'd be wonderful. That's a good
So
point.
maybe it's just they're saving. They gotta spend money, but you gotta. Yeah.
There was one, I don't know, we've kind of hit on most of the questions that were here, but there was the last question, I don't really know the answer, so maybe y'all have the answer. It said, how do these things, such as like the difference in fashion, like the changes in women's sense of their shape, their bodies, their hairstyle simplified, how the women were thought of or thought about themselves, the significance of the waist, women or the men, why is it more simple, their dress, and they're obsessed with more well-cut clothing. It says, how do these things relate to such issues as relationships between men and women, or the fact that the middle class is gaining more power in England? I don't know, I haven't really been able to think about it much,
So the
Yes.
middle class, that's like where it's the most. I feel like it'd be the most fluid. Like that if you didn't have very much money and then you bought some nice clothes, it would make it look like you had more money than you did, or like it'd be easier to impress people of the middle class. Because people in the upper class, they've always been doing stuff like this. They've always had their nicer clothes and everything. But the middle class, maybe they're just coming into this wealth and they have the money to play with to buy their clothes, and they're able to compete more with each other than the people of the upper class that have already just been there. There's more room and more. It's just a more fluid atmosphere than maybe the upper or the lower classes.
That's a good point. Because it makes sense if the distinguishing factor between the two sects, wealthy and poor, for this case, if it's clothing that everyone's going to be seeing, because you have carriages, but there's only so many forms of carriages you can have to diversify. You don't have multiple different cars, and it's harder to show off your wealth. So if your form of wealth is in what you wear, it makes sense that the middle class would try to obtain similar clothing, or the lower class or middle class to fill up to that level, or to dress to that level, to hope to aspire to that level. And then it would cause this kind of conflict where the wealthy would now have to find ways of differentiating themselves if they start to blend in with the masses. And so maybe that is that could be a change for why they started adjusting different styles or doing certain cuts or whatnot. Because if you have to get a tailor to do certain things, then that would identify you in your clothing. A well-tailored outfit would obviously show just by looking similar to a lower class member. You can tell the difference between tailored and not. So that's pretty interesting there.
A lot of the suits sounded like they had a lot of extra fabric too.
Mm-hmm.
So that would cost more money to make, to have like the frilly things on the bottom with the tailcoat or whatever. And it's just showing off more than you actually really need. You have excess.
I'm just happy that women don't have to dress as they do now. With that letter from Jane Austen to Cassandra, how she worded it, that like she goes into great detail, but then she ultimately says, "I'm afraid of not being particular enough." And the whole letter is pretty much just about what women wear and everything. So I can only imagine what that'd be like to get dressed up in one of those outfits and how long that would take, and probably not be comfortable in the least little bit.
Great.
Good thing it's cold in England.
Layering up, that's a good point. Staying warm.
Just got those, yeah.
Well,
That's 30 minutes, right?
yeah. Would I count upon something? Or?
No, I just the other thing. I don't know how it would influence a relationship between a man and a woman with like becoming more simplistic. I don't know. I feel that it would make the relationship more balanced rather than one-sided, but that's just my thoughts. I don't know any like historical background behind a relationship back then.
Yeah.
I think those are good thoughts. I agree. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to close off our broadcast for this evening. Toodaloo-doos and have a fantastic night.